No matter if you are a newbie in City Skylines community or you've stuck around for a while, at one point you might find yourself tired of all the random vanilla builds that spawn around, making your city look just ugly, especially up close. But what if I tell you that the best way to achieve realistic and aesthetically pleasing look of your city is to ditch the idea of zoning altogether and download 1K of custom asset, but that's the other thing. In this sort of tutorial, I want to show you how to approach a way of building that is zoning free, cover all the mods that you need to use, as well as try to show you solutions for potential issues that might come. So let's get to work! So of course, you will need mods. Number one necessary mod that you will need is Find It. Find It mod creates a tab with search bar that lets you search for individual buildings and basically every other asset in the game by its name or tags that you can assign yourself. Apart from it giving you access to all the vanilla buildings or so-called growables, it's the place where you can find your custom asset buildings, service buildings, etc. They appear here as well. It's basically a search tool to find anything placeable in the game. It also has a category system where you can find all the zoning categories with separation to low and high rise, sometimes even further narrowed to districts, for example, leisure district when it comes to commercial buildings. Another helpful tool to use is also filtering by lot size if you want, for example, to stick to smaller buildings. Let's work on the office area around here. Now, in contrary to zoning, we gain control over which buildings we choose to place. But once you start actually place them, you notice that they tend to still stick to sort of grid. So another well-known mod within the community is Move It. I use it a lot, mostly to have more distance from the road, less space between buildings, or to place fillers such as parking lots, not on the grid. You can also copy and rotate buildings as you wish, so it's also a nice tool to make sort of custom buildings. Of course, you need procedural object for that, but that's another story. It will, as Move It name suggests, allow you to move buildings around. With moving and changing position, there also comes an issue with terrain and leveling, which you can fix also with this mod. But also there is another one, which is building control mod, because whenever you select a new building from Find It, the tab will pop up in the bottom with few options, and within them you have an option terrain flattening that you can choose in order to blend buildings into hill and terrain and not just flatten them to the ground. Of course, adding some decals that mimic asphalt or using surface tool mod to hide awkward spaces, or tools like events people generator and useful assets like invisible pavement or invisible roads can take your no zoning builds to another level and give way more realism and life to the area. And that's for the aesthetic. Now it's time to fix issues that you will most likely encounter and mods that you might need to help with that. There are basically two that will help you to get rid of most of your problems: RICO and Advanced Control Level Building. RICO converts all the custom buildings assets to functional buildings from one of the four categories: residential, industrial, commercial, office, hence acronym RICO. It comes with a tab, which we can ignore for now, RICO setting panel, where we can modify each building, and global settings in options game menu. Seems confusing, I know, but I will get to it all later. Advanced control level building comes with global settings as well, a small tab, and it focuses mostly on toggling abandonment and levels of the building. First issue you might encounter is that despite hours spent on placing each building one by one, it can out of sudden become abandoned, burned down, and just disappear. The tool you might need for that is Advanced Building Control, which has few options that you can tick off and will globally affect the game. These include locking no abandonment option for all buildings or only historical ones, you can check the option Make all plopped growables historical in RICO. Apart from that, you can click Lock Plop Growables Level using Advanced Building Level Control, so the building won't level up and you won't risk it randomly looking differently. If you, for whatever reason, don't wish to play around with the settings and possibly mess up your city and affect your whole map, whenever you click any building, you have the option to toggle abandonment manually or change building level. The purpose of zoning is to basically steadily grow your city, challenge you to add amenities for your citizens in order to see your buildings naturally level up. So what happens when you place level 5 building because it's, I don't know, aesthetically pleasing and you like it, in an area that lacks services or attractiveness, so you will get low land value and too few services complaints. Normally, your citizens would just leave, but since we forced no abandonment in previous step, you are just going to be stuck with those complaints. In RICO settings, you can click Ignore low land value complaint, choose to which buildings you want to apply it. I just simply check all the boxes and ignore too few services complaint. If it's a problem that only happens in small area and you don't want to mess with global settings, you can use Advanced Building Level Control and manually change the level of the building by clicking on it. Just be mindful that if you lock the leveling up of the building or you choose to ignore all the complaints and the fact that your game is probably unbalanced economically speaking, it can affect your economy and your profits, which might not grow as gradually as it was intended when using basic vanilla zoning. When using a lot of custom assets, they are sometimes categorized wrongly, appear as a random monument or special building, even if they are being just a plain house. The amount of households per residential property or workers per industry, office, commercial can be also too high or too low, which leads to problem. So click on any building, click RICO panel. Then you can click Add Local, where you have few options regarding the building you are editing. You can immediately see the option to change workers. So you have a crazy need for industry, no problem, just add 10,000 workers to one building and you are fine. Apart from modifying workers or household numbers, you can also change the category, aka service and UI category of the building, turn, for example, house into office or shop into industry, especially if they were wrongly categorized by the asset creator on Steam. As sometimes custom buildings come with immensely high build cost, you can change construction cost. Since the zoning in the game is basically free, the weird cost of custom assets can basically throw your economy off the balance. You can also check global option in RICO panel, where in ploppable option you can override building cost, but I personally don't use it and can tell you much about how it affects the game. And that's all, guys. I hope the tips were helpful. If so, let me know. If you are a City Skylines pro already, then hello, what are you doing here? Let me know what you would add to the list or any other tips that would work when teaching zoning in cities. I encourage you to check out my other videos about everything mod related in City Skylines, as well as my building series. You can see an example of my no zoning city right now on the screen. All of that should pop up here, so thank you for watching and bye!